Greetings, YouTube. I just had an update to my software for my camera, so this may not go well. We're going to find out. So, the Supremes, in a 6-3 ruling, which is kind of shocking, have decided that gay and trans people have rights under federal law, that the protections that govern sex discrimination actually cover gay people and trans people, even though being gay and being trans are distinct from what most people consider the definition of sex. You can't have one without the other. They are absolutely linked. There is no way to separate them. So that's a good thing. Now, you'd think I'd be really happy, enthusiastic, bubbly, all that stuff, but I'm having a real hard time getting there because the three people that vote against it are virulent bigots. And I'm still dubious about Gorsuch's support. And Kennedy, I'm figuring, is probably giving us this little win because it only impacts a very small segment of our society, so that he can then screw us on much bigger issues down the line that will affect all of us, because he can say, well, I gave you that win, right? Yeah, I'm having a hard time not seeing this as a situation where I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But the reality is that now federally, discrimination is illegal in all 50 states. I'm assuming this covers our territories as well. If it doesn't, somebody tell me. Because I know that sometimes laws that govern the territories are slightly different than the laws that govern actual states. It's weird and complex, and it shouldn't be, and it is. So I'm happy for that. And today is also, when you will see this video, June 26th, will be my ex's birthday. So, hi Darren. My ex is a trans man. And one of the reasons that I have a deep personal connection with the trans community, not to mention I have friends who are also trans beyond that, but I used to be married to someone who is a trans person. So I understand some of this to maybe a deeper degree than your average cis person does, because they don't have an experience that for the most part. They have the privilege of never having to question that their assigned gender is in alignment with how they perceive themselves, which is kind of nice having that. It's kind of like not being persecuted for your orientation, or not being persecuted for your melanin level, or not being persecuted for your gender on the masculine feminine spectrum. I mean, being a white straight cis dude in America is winning the lottery. I understand that you can also be poor, and you can also have no political power, and you can be a number of other things, but remember, if you were a white straight cis dude, you won the lottery. And don't think you didn't, and use your privilege for good. For example, making a video where you're making sure that everybody knows that everyone should have rights and they should not be discriminated against for any reason. So I'm happy, genuinely and sincerely happy, that the court has made this decision. Not surprising, the ones that voted for, most of them, for it. But again, I do question Gorsuch and Kennedy to a degree. And I bet that the Republicans are probably looking at their receipt they got when they bought Gorsuch, and or how the hell you say his name, and looking at it, trying to figure out what went wrong, because he was supposed to be on their side. But they still had the other three who are, again, virulent bigots. So, I guess they're happy about that. Because, it's always good when you have bigots on the Supreme Court, because they're never going to let their bigotry, influence their legal decisions at all, right? That's not going to happen. Now, I've heard rather people telling me that this is all political, that they made the decision for this case based purely on politics. And whenever I hear something like that, I'm confused, because people seem to think of politics as a thing that is separate from you. So it's like, here's me and here's politics, and if I put politics right there, now I'm no longer engaged in politics. The politics and I are separate. So now I can do my thing free from the political influence of whatever ideology that those politics represent until I choose to pick the politics back up and then apply them to the world at large. Somewhat metaphorical that I use that knife for that. But that's not how politics work. Politics are the air we breathe. Everything is politics. And anyone who tells you differently is pushing their own political agenda and trying to downplay yours. Everything is politics. Always has been, always will be. Every decision has political ramifications. Every bias, every ounce of bigotry, all has ripple effects that can ruin lives and destroy people. And social conservatives want you to think that politics and everything else is separate because they can use that against you. So don't let them. Everything is politics. This decision by the court was political. Every decision they've ever made is political. And they all have political ramifications. I am glad that this helps gay and trans Americans. They deserve it. They have always been worthy of protections and rights. And it's nice to hear that on the federal level, they're going to get them. But this only applies to businesses with 15 or more employees. So if you still work for a small company, if you're a 10-person crew, you can still be discriminated against. I'm not sure why that is. I really don't. I've never understood why there are exemptions like that. There shouldn't be. Because you could be working for a company that has 3 people in it, and if the owner of that company is a screaming bigot, why should you suffer for that? They could be a misogynist, they could be a racist, they could be a religious zealot, they could be a homophobe, a transphobe. Why should you tolerate that bigotry just because you work for a small company? That has never made any sense to me. Also, the religious exemptions that some places have, I don't believe this does not count in this particular case. But there are some religious exemptions out there that exist, and I've never understood that either. I also can't figure out why religious institutions don't pay taxes. They should. There should be no exemption in my book. So let's be happy about the fact that gay and trans people now have federal protections that they didn't have before. That's just awesome. And let's hope that the decision of today is not going to come back and bite us on the butt at some point in the future when Kennedy comes out and says, well, I gave you that win, so now you're going to pay for it. Because I am hoping that doesn't happen. But to all my gay and trans friends and citizens out there, congratulations. Enjoy your protection. You've always deserved it.